We left off by saying that the inverse of a relation with the set of points xy is the set of points yx. So let's add on to this by bringing up the conversation of domain and range. So the domain of the inverse is going to be the range of the relation. And similarly, the range of the inverse is the domain of the relation. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's go ahead and look at an example in order for me to show you how this is going to be applied. So let's begin with this problem here. So it says find the domain and range of the inverse. Now, if I want to get anything about the inverse, I have to first get the domain and range of the original graph. So let's begin there. Let's begin by getting domain first. So for domain, I have to scan from left to right, and I'm paying attention to the x-axis here. So I can see that the endpoints are going to be right here at this point and right here at this point. So let me go ahead and graph or place the boundaries here. So here is the lower bound of -3, and then right here is the upper bound of +4. We have closed circles on both, so we're going to use brackets here. So my domain is going to be from -3 to +4. And since I'm interested in getting the domain of the inverse, all I have to do is change the position of these two values. So instead, I'm going to get 4, -3, and this is the domain of the inverse. We're going to play a similar game by obtaining the range of the inverse. For range, we have to observe the y values now, and we're going to read from bottom to top. So let me go ahead and label this y-axis. And I can see that here, my lower bound is going to be right here at this point, and the upper bound, it's not going to be here at this point because the graph keeps extending up to here at B. So we're going to go ahead and draw those boundaries with horizontal lines instead of vertical. And here I have the upper bound of +4, and then here we have the lower bound of 0. So we again have closed points on both ends, so we're going to have brackets here. Okay, and again we read from bottom to top, so the range is going to be from 0 to 4. And if I want to get the inverse, we're going to change the positions, and now we get 4, 0. And this is what we were looking for. Let's do one more for extra practice. So let's begin by getting the domain of this graph, again by concentrating on the x values, scanning the graph from left to right. So here we can see that the lower bound is going to be at -4, and the upper bound is going to be here at +5. So 5 has an open circle, so we're going to use a bracket, and -4 lies on a part of the graph in which the graph is continuous. So this is going to be bracket. My domain will be from -4 in bracket all the way up to 5 in parentheses. And if I want to get the inverse of this graph, we're going to switch these two around. So now we get a parentheses 5 and then -4 in bracket. Let's do the same thing for the range. This time we're going to concentrate on the y-axis, reading the graph from bottom to top. So I can see that my lower bound is going to begin here at -1, and the upper bound is going to end here at 4, +4. The 4 is in parentheses because of the open circle, and the -1 is in bracket because of the closed circle reading from bottom to top, we get the interval -1, +4. And to get the inverse, we are now looking at parentheses 4 with -1 in bracket. So this is the info for the original, and then this is the info for the inverse.